Star Wars, The Clone Wars covered a pretty broad array of topics for a show about a fictional intergalactic civil war. It had story arcs that confronted everything from desertion to chattel slavery, always handling these topics respectfully and in an elegant manner. Such was the case for tonight's underrated Clone Wars episode. You may well have forgotten about Trespass, the 15th episode of Season 1, which told the story of Autoplutonia, its native Tals, and their conflict with their Pantoran neighbours. But we didn't forget it, and we think it's time it got the credit it deserves. In this video, we're going to recap the episode and discuss how it handled a very heavy topic.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
Before we begin, we highly encourage you pause this video and actually re-watch the episode. Don't worry, we'll be waiting for you when you get back. If you've watched the episode just now, feel free to fast forward to the start of the next video chapter here on YouTube. If not, let's quickly recap what happened. Trespass begins with the Republic Strike Force investigating the destruction of a clone outpost in Autoplutonia, a frigid world with uninhabited moon, Pantora. Captain Rex and Torrent Company, led by Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi, lead the investigation, accompanied by two dignitaries from Pantora, Chairman Cho, the Pantoran head of state, and Senator Rio Chuchi. Cho claims Autoplutonia to be territory of Pantora since the world is believed to be uninhabited and is paranoid that the Separatists are responsible for the destruction of the planet's clone garrison. This turns out to not be the case, however, as a droid base also found on the planet has been destroyed as well. The culprit turns out to be a third party, a tribe of Tals, indigenous to the planet. Anakin and Obi-Wan make contact with the Tals, who turn out to be peaceful beings that just want to be left alone. While the mystery of what happened to the clone garrison gets solved, Chairman Cho is unsatisfied. He is infuriated by the discovery of indigenous sentience on Autoplutonia, considering them savages and trespassers on property of the Pantoran government. Cho decides that the Tals should be wiped out and deliberately starts a war, which he and his men end up being gravely unprepared for. Despite their vastly superior technology, Republic forces get absolutely annihilated by the Tals in battle, and Cho is fatally wounded. Seeking to put an end to the bloodshed, Senator Chuchi reaches out to the Pantoran government and receives permission to intervene. She and Tai Sen, the Tals chieftain, put a stop to the fighting, and all the Republic and Pantoran forces leave Autoplutonia, which is now recognized as the sovereign homeworld of the Tals. Trespass frames itself as an episode about peace. Senator Chuchi's goal from the beginning of the episode is to bring about a peaceful resolution to whatever's happening on Autoplutonia, and it remains unchanged through to the end. She sees the war between Pantora and the Tals as a tragically unnecessary loss of life and forges a peace with the Tals in order to stop further bloodshed. She's encouraged in this by the Jedi, who are supposed to always seek peaceful solutions, even if Anakin tends to forget that. But peace is just the first layer of the message of Trespass. It's the readily available, easy to digest message that's presented for the kids in the audience, and while it's absolutely a good message, it cloaks a much more mature one. Trespass isn't just about unjust wars or choosing to find peaceful solutions, it's about a much darker phenomenon that many people still live under the shadow of: colonialism. The allegory of Trespass isn't camouflaged. The traces of it are everywhere, but it's the battle near the end of the episode that brings it to center stage. If you've studied American history, you probably recognize that the Battle of Autoplutonia was very similar to the Battle of Little Bighorn, also known as Custer's Last Stand, a battle fought between the United States Army and a coalition led by the Lakota during the Great Sioux War of 1876. If it wasn't obvious before, that parallel made clear that Trespass is about the American frontier wars in particular. The phenomenon seen in Trespass, that of a foreign occupier with no rightful claim or need for a chunk of land trying to eradicate an indigenous population to claim it, is one that stains the histories of many countries. Many people still suffer today as a result of colonialism, and on the other side of the coin, many have to grapple with the fact that their ancestors instigated it. That would have made this episode's topic a bit of a risky one for the writers to cover, but they did so anyway, and they did a pretty good job of it too. In some countries that came into existence through settler colonialism, colonial atrocities tend to not get talked about in media. Media that does address these atrocities can sometimes fall into one of two traps. Either it glamorizes them, depicting the settlers as righteous in some manner, or it equivocates, trying to claim that both sides were terrible or something to that effect. Trespass avoids both pitfalls. It's very clear that the Tals are in the right and Chairman Cho is in the wrong, and beyond that, it emphasizes just how wrong Cho is. He doesn't explicitly say in the episode that he wants to kill all the Tals, but it couldn't be more obvious that he intends to do so if that's what it takes to eliminate their claim on Ordo Plutonia. All the while, he echoes some of the nastiest colonial rhetoric, referring to the Tals as savages and animals despite their obvious sentience. The Tals, of course, are neither savages or animals. They have a complex language, a thriving culture, and much more sense than Chairman Cho. Trespass makes it clear that the Tals are victims and that their attacks on Republic forces are all strictly matters of self-defense. Far from being savage or bloodthirsty, although their attack and killing of the clones in the outpost was bad, they're still much more merciful than their opponents, willing to negotiate a peace even after their home has been invaded. Ordo Plutonia belongs to them, and they would be well within their right to kill every last one of the Trespassers. They don't, however, and end up treating the Pantorans much better than some of the Pantorans would have treated them if the roles were reversed. This is a much more confrontational depiction of colonialism than what most other shows would aim for, but Trespass softens the blow somewhat with Senator Chuchi. The episode recognizes that nations aren't monoliths, and refrains from branding the Pantorans as a people, as evil, or anything like that. Clearly, some of them are opposed to Chairman Cho and his violent colonialism, including Senator Chuchi. Chuchi provides those, to whom this episode might hit a bit close to home with, someone to emulate. Her people are in the wrong in this war with the Tals, and she not only recognizes this, but puts a stop to it as well. The deal Senator Chuchi makes with the Tals at the end of the episode doesn't just involve ending the war between their peoples. After all, the war started in the first place because Chairman Cho rejected the Tals' demand that the Pantorans and their allies leave Ordo Plutonia. The Tals wanted peace, sure, but it went beyond that. They wanted the Trespassers out of their backyard too. At the end of the episode, Chuchi doesn't negotiate with Thiessen over this or try to find some sort of middle ground at all. Instead, she accepts the demands of the Tals completely and without complaint. She acknowledges that Ordo Plutonia is the territory of the Tals, and she and the others leave immediately after the peace settlement is reached, abandoning the Republic base and everything. There's no caveats or attempts to change their minds to let a clone garrison stay. Chuchi accepts the Tals' wishes, and that's the end of it. This is perhaps the most remarkable part of the episode. In most TV shows, this sort of standoff would end with the Tals and Pantorans finding some sort of middle ground. The protagonists would try to get something out of their peace deal for themselves, and the Tals would acquiesce. But the Clone Wars isn't most TV shows. Its protagonists accept that they were wrong and respect the wishes of the Tals like any mature person should. Moreover, Trespass emphasizes that there's nothing cowardly or dishonorable about doing so. On the contrary, its message is that doing so is more respectable than the alternative, which is the sort of really bold message we'd expect from this show. Star Wars The Clone Wars is not a kids show, but it's still a show that's very accessible for kids, and kids made up most of the show's audience back in the day. The message of Trespass is accessible and appropriate for those younger members of the audience, which is impressive considering it's a message about settler colonialism. Furthermore, it was a great message to teach kids, not only to give them a better perspective about history, but also to help them gain life skills. A depressing number of people seemingly have an inability to admit their mistakes and always try claim some small victory when they're forced to admit they were wrong. Beyond its message about colonialism, Trespass teaches us that it's honorable to admit your mistakes and make amends for them. It's not a matter of guilt or shame or any of that, it's simply a matter of maturity and respect, of choosing to be better. That's a message we really need more of in the world today. So that's our look at Trespass, one of Star Wars The Clone Wars' most underrated episodes. But what do you think? What are your thoughts on this episode? And are there others you'd like us to see make videos on? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below, and as always guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.